He felt it first as a dull ache in his chest, a constant pressure that made it hard to breathe. Each day felt heavier than the last. The world seemed to be closing in, the colors draining away until everything was painted in shades of gray. His once bright smile, now a distant memory, was lost in the depths of his despair. He had always been a happy person. What had happened? His friends noticed. They saw the light fade from his eyes, the way he no longer laughed at their jokes. He withdrew into himself, a shell of the vibrant soul they once knew. Concerned, they reached out, but their words seemed to fall on deaf ears. He had built walls around his heart, convinced that no one could understand the depth of his pain. He clung to the hope that things would get better, that the sun would break through the dark clouds that had gathered over his life. But the darkness only seemed to grow, consuming him from the inside out. He felt lost, adrift in a sea of despair with no shore in sight. He didn't know how to swim anymore. Her name was Sandra, and she had been the sun in his sky. He had loved her with a fierce intensity, believing that she was his soulmate, his other half. Their love had been a whirlwind of stolen kisses, whispered promises, and shared dreams. He had given her his heart, believing that she would cherish it always. But Sandra, with her captivating smile and eyes that held a hint of mischief, had a secret that would shatter his world and leave him broken and beyond repair. She had met someone else, someone who made her forget the promises they had made. The news hit him like a physical blow, stealing his breath and leaving him reeling in shock and disbelief. He begged her to reconsider, to remember the love they had shared. But her heart was cold, her eyes distant. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice devoid of emotion. "It's over." And with those words, she walked away, leaving him standing there, shattered and alone. His heart, once overflowing with love, now felt like a barren wasteland. The funeral was a somber affair, a testament to a life cut tragically short. Friends and family gathered, their faces etched with grief and disbelief. They spoke in hushed tones, their words filled with regret and unanswered questions. Why hadn't they seen the signs? Why hadn't they done more to help? As the priest began his eulogy, a hush fell over the crowd. And then, a disturbance. A woman, her face veiled and her eyes red-rimmed, stepped forward from the back of the crowd. She moved with a quiet dignity that commanded attention. Whispers rippled through the mourners as she approached the grave, her gaze fixed on the casket. She reached out a gloved hand and gently touched the polished wood, her touch lingering as if in farewell. And then, in a voice choked with emotion, she spoke. "He was my love," she said, her words barely audible above the gentle breeze. "And this is his son." A collective gasp arose from the crowd, eyes widened in astonishment, and murmurs of disbelief spread like wildfire. The young man's parents, their faces pale with shock, turned to stare at the woman, their eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. The revelation hung in the air, a tangible presence that threatened to shatter the fragile peace of the day. The woman's words were a hammer blow, shattering the image they had carefully constructed of the young man they thought they knew. Who was this woman? And how had their son, their beloved child, managed to keep such a monumental secret hidden from them? As the woman, her child in her arms, turned to leave, they were left grappling with the weight of her revelation. The world, once a place of certainty and order, now seemed shrouded in shadows and doubt. They were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, haunted by the knowledge that some secrets, even in death, refused to stay buried. The truth, like shards of broken glass, cut deep, leaving behind scars that would never fully heal.